TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and welcome to episode 69. Oh my, I didn't think I'd be doing this one by myself. If I could do that by myself, I would not need a podcast. Anyway, welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT. Went over that part. All right, here we go. Now, yes, if you read the title, if you hit play, you know this is another Preshift-All-Shift. And you're like, what's going on? Like, don't you interview people anymore? I'm like, yes, I do. But there's just been every time with the pre-shifts with guests, the pre-shifts, all shifts, there's just been so much to get through, and somehow we never quite make it there. Now, you could say that I talk a lot, and maybe I share more information than I need to. I could get to the heart of the matter, but that's not how I tell stories, right? That's not why you tune in. If I was just reading it like it was CNN or a ticker, the things on the bottom, like, no, we're not reading it like that old school news. I'm telling you the stories. I'm sharing with you my experience as it's unfolding. And I thought, why not make hay while the sun shines, right? Because we're on this journey, leaving this restaurant. You're like, you keep saying that every week. And it's like, it's true every week. And we're getting closer and closer. And right now I'm finding myself in a pattern where I'm working 7 days a week in a way that is productive, in a way that I'm still tired, but I'm so grateful to be having these opportunities where I've put it out there into the universe, the changes that I want, and opportunities for bookkeeping are coming up. Opportunities for, getting more clients and doing more X, Y, and Z. There's some really cool things popping up. I guess I'll share some good news with you. I started last year with a Provincetown Cabaret Fest. I performed with them a few years ago, and now it's getting a little bit of a makeover under new management. And the festival is going to take place this year with a brand new team, and I'm serving as the treasurer, because that's right, I'm a bookkeeper. So I am volunteering my services as treasurer of this cabaret festival in Provincetown, which affords me the opportunity to go to Provincetown and to have something nice and shiny on my resume to be like, not only do I work as a bookkeeper, but I volunteer as a bookkeeper, and I volunteer for an organization that is in the arts. So it's all wonderful. These are all wonderful things. My two worlds coming together in a way that probably wouldn't in a restaurant, and probably haven't, and not probably, definitely haven't. So I'm really excited to be a part of the Provincetown Cabaret Fest this year as their treasurer on their board. And also, I'm going back to Provincetown to perform, and not just any old show. They're doing a wonderful, radio theme show of songs from the 30s and the 40s, romantic. Who knows what people do with it? A little queer. Yeah, queer people were around back then too. So we'll see what people do with that theme. The theme is the theme, and the artist take it and run with it, and we find out exactly what they do with it in June at the festival. And it's really cool because it's not just people performing. It's not just, the headliners from New York or, Broadway stars from here and there. It is, well, there's only one Broadway, but, celebrity adjacent people. But it's also an educational program. So they have master classes going on all week, and they have aspiring, budding cabaret artists come to take these master classes, and then they get to do spotlight shows. So it's almost like a retreat for the week, where you have the masterclass teachers teaching during the day, performing at night, the students honing their craft during the day and performing their mini shows, or the shows that they're just starting to put together, the beginnings of their shows. It's a week long of fun and cabaret in Provincetown, which you haven't been. It is phenomenal. We're going to have open mics. It's going to be wonderful. And sorry, I'm not going to just be performing any old show. I'm going to be doing my very first ever live podcast, first ever TUFF SHIFT live in Provincetown, highlighting some of the amazing artists in Provincetown. I have some friends who work in Provincetown that I met in New York City, who relocated and are working as bartenders and in restaurants over there, drag queens, all of that. And the performers in the lineup, I know that my dear friend and our episode 3 guest, Marty Millett, will be a guest on the show. And we're going to kind of change things up a little bit. It's not going to be just one-on-one. It's going to be a little more, when I say that I'm in my Johnny Carson moment or my Jimmy Kimmel moment here with my opening monologue, I figured, why reinvent the wheel? Why not just do a Johnny Carson-esque style version of this show and do my opening monologue, sing a few songs, because, it is a cabaret festival, so this will be a musical episode. I don't know how that works with rights and uploading this to wherever you listen to your podcast, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Then we'll bring on a guest, we'll talk some shop, we'll share stories. Then we'll bring on the next guest. That guest will move down the couch and we'll all have a little thought exchange. I cannot wait. I am so excited to be doing this and to have this opportunity. And for, like I said, all my worlds to be aligning. And that will be from the 7th through the 14th, I believe. June 7th through the 14th. I probably should have written this down, but we got time. So make sure you check it out. If you're in New England, if you're on the East Coast, maybe take a bus up there and get yourself in a little ferry over to Provincetown. It's going to be a fun time. I was there 3 years ago and I absolutely loved it. And I can't believe it's taken me 3 years to go back. But I'm happy to be going back. And yeah, that's great. Other good news, in asking the universe for these big shifts and getting me out of this restaurant and providing me with opportunities to have creative income, stable creative income that really takes advantage of my skill set in finance, in administrative work, and also as a performer. So I will be going to the Midwest. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this yet, but I will be teaching a workshop at a university somewhere in the Midwest. And I do know where it is, but I'm not going to say where it is just in case I can't. But my dear friend and voice teacher is the head of a musical theater program and thought it would be good to bring someone in to tell these kids about the reality of the world of musical theater, not just putting your audition book together, not just making sure you know how to put what to put on your resume, where to put on your resume, what auditions to go for, but how to survive New York, how to, get a survival job that isn't killing you. So I really need to be out of this restaurant by the time I go to this university, or I'll be completely full of shit and other fun things. We were just kind of chit-chatting about what this program needs, and what could serve these students, not children. They're not children, and we kind of got a lot to, which is this is a lifelong lesson for actors and non-actors, everyone in life. Criticism. How do you deal with criticism? But more specifically for our world, how do you take a note? How do you pursue this career without having the ability to take a note and not take it personally? Now, when I say take a note, you're in rehearsal, it's the end of the night, the director is giving you notes, and every actor knows this. When the director gives you a note, you write it down and you say thank you. Yet nearly every actor who knows this very well will turn that note into a workshop and be like, oh, well, it's just because Susie wasn't on her mark, or I know, but I had this thing, and it's just this projectile vomiting of excuses. So this idea of how do you just take the note, and why don't we take the note when we know we just have to write it down? But this idea of having to add context to why something wasn't done, as opposed to like, oh, you saw that too? Yeah, I definitely need more time to figure that out. And you take the note, you write it down, you say thank you, because there are other actors on stage, because just like life, a show is a shared experience, just like a restaurant, right? So we don't want to take it all up to make it seem as if this is just all about us. Or all about us, the individual. This is all about us, the collective, and everyone's getting notes and everyone's going to take the notes. So don't stop and make this a workshop. You write it down, you take the note, and you either sit with it and come back the next day before rehearsal, email the director and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about that note. Or you wait till after rehearsal and be like, hey, do you have time? And if they do, you talk about it. If they don't, you respect that boundary and you save it for the next day. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for all young artists to kind of start thinking about now to kind of start applying to their life. So I'm excited to be going, how did I talk this long about taking a note? Because it's exciting to be talking to these young artists and helping them maybe avoid some heartache that I had to experience, which we all have to experience our own heartache along the way and our own learning the hard way. But if you can give advice, if you can share your lived experience with someone to help them get past these hurdles quicker, more hurdles will come, but they'll be a further ahead. And so I can't wait to get away for this weekend, well, week, in the state that I'm not going to say, to have this workshop, and then kind of maybe that's also something that I'm adding to my arsenal of stable financial income, is going to small colleges and talking to kids about what the reality of surviving in New York is, what the reality of surviving in LA is. Anyone who's made it can teach a masterclass. Patti LuPone, yeah, I'm not going to teach the Patti LuPone masterclass. I'm not teaching a masterclass. I'm teaching a workshop, because they are the one, not the 1%, but the 1%, like the non-toxic 1% who make it, who make it. And it's not that they don't work hard. They work their asses off, but they made it, and they have something different to share. For all the rest of us, how do you keep the arts in your life? How do you create focus, stability, and balance in your life, which is something at 42 I'm still unpacking. And so the best way to obtain mastery of any subject, of any area, of any matter, is to explain it, is to teach it to somebody. Because when you can explain to somebody, you can help somebody, like, oh, let me help you understand this concept. It's like, oh shit, I actually really know that. And the more that you try to help people, if you can, don't try and teach somebody quantum physics if you've never taken a quantum physics class. But like, I had this lived experience, so if I can put it into word in a way that's going to help a younger generation, or help literally anyone at all, why not take advantage of that? Why not seize the moment? And so those are two updates that I'm so excited about, and the long way around talking about why I'm going to make hay while the sun shines, while I'm still at this restaurant and getting just this ongoing reporting live from the ground of the shit show that is a restaurant that I work with, that is part of a multi-million-dollar restaurant group that is very successful. Is very successful, and I don't know how, because I see how they run things, and they just, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know if they can continue to do it. I know they've done it, but sometimes, Rome fell. Rome fell. So a restaurant group can definitely fall, and I definitely feel that is where the restaurant group is, that I'm at right now, and it's where the newest addition, where the newest jewel in the crown. But the diamond's a little foggy, a little cloudy, not as bright and shining, and maybe a little loose. So we'll see. That I have this unending anecdotes, this arsenal of just shit shows in these tough shifts. So while I'm still there, as I am tapering out, why not share all this nonsense with you? Because it is kind of entertaining. When you're so over something that you got to laugh at it. I mean, you're still pissed. You're still like, this place is awful. But it almost becomes funny. And that's just kind of how you get through it. And you and your coworkers really bond. And in the same way that, like, I just met up with a friend this last week, and we did a show in San Francisco years ago that was like a bullshit show. This was like 15-ish years ago. The show was this giant piece of shit. It was awful. But from that show, I not only got to work with one of the best directors in the Bay Area, who knew this show was shit, and did the best that she could to make it something wonderful, and make the experience wonderful. And I got to work with her before she passed, and I wouldn't trade this experience for the world, because just everything that the knowledge, the gold that was her knowledge and her talent, that I watched her in how she directed other actors, that I observed and how she directed me. And then also these actors that I got to work with, like, the best part of shitty experiences are the people you meet along the way. So it happens on stage. It's happening in my current restaurant, and it's happened at every restaurant and every shitty show I've ever done. It's the people that make the experience memorable. And so we laugh and we cry and we get angry. And it's just this beautiful experience of when I'm at the edge and I'm like, "Rah," everyone is holding on to me and keeping me in place and keeping me up. And when it's that person's turn, then we fall in line. And what do you need? I got you. Don't you even worry. Boom, because we got to look out for each other. And this is in action I talk about on here. My priorities in a restaurant are myself, my coworkers, and then vying for last place are either the customer or the restaurant, depending on who's right in the situation. So if the customer's being a dick, don't I'll talk shit about my manager, but don't you dare talk to them that way. Who the hell do you think you are? Who do I think I am? I shouldn't be speaking that way. Anyways, or if the restaurant is doing something bad, then I'm like, yeah, you know what? You guys are dropping the ball, and I'm not going to have it affect this person who's paying good money to be here. This person who's done nothing wrong, who has come here with the best of intentions, and you are making it impossible for them to get their money's worth. Then I stand up for the customer. But the order is that myself, because got to look out for myself, and then my coworkers, and we are living that right now. And it is, I love my A team. I even love my B team, and even I have a manager who we'll get to him later. We'll get to him later, but I'm learning to love him, and it is just I walked into another weekend of wonderful shifts. I've dropped a shift, so now I'm only doing 3 days. And doing the rest of my bookkeeping throughout the week, but I'm only doing 3 days at my restaurant now, and it's kind of all compacted into one weekend. So I'm Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and it is just an avalanche. So I get it all at once, and then I get time to breathe, and then I go back one day off, and then a little bit more. And recently, Dine LA started, which in New York is Restaurant Week. And if you say Restaurant Week, which you'd think people would understand, they're like, what's Restaurant Week? You mean Dine LA? Well, asshole, if you just corrected me and answered your own question within one sentence, fuck you. Yes, I mean Dine LA. Dine LA has started. And you guessed it, folks. My restaurant was not prepared. They talked a lot about it, but they did nothing to prepare us for it. We'll get to that. But I need to tell you, in the shit show that was this weekend, the best part of this weekend, oh God, it made me so happy. It was a beautiful experience of camaraderie, of having a shared enemy builds bonds. And so with the restaurant, with chef, with management, like, I don't always like you guys, and I'm not very happy with you guys right now, but right now we have a shared enemy who is this douchebag. I believe that's the scientific term. He is a douchebag, and he has a top knot. And listen, I actually like a top knot. When a guy has a top knot and that kind of vague Euro feel or vague bohemian or vague, whatever, like I have a trust fund but live in Brooklyn and play poor, like so something a little sexy about that. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. Top knots are kind of sexy and like, oh yeah, I got a top knot. I'm wearing, a tattered white V-neck and blah, blah, blah. And, a leather bracelet. Yeah, you're a douchebag, but it's kind of hot until you just open your mouth and you start talking. It's like, and this guy just sat down. This is, again, restaurant week. Restaurant didn't prepare us. And once again, we're rising to the occasion. We're making shit happen. Like, this restaurant has no idea until we all leave just how good they have it. We're making shit happen. And this guy pulls up to the bar at like 8 o'clock. We're at the thick of the rush. It's a Saturday night. Anytime it dies down, that is for 5 seconds. That is and it just, the board fills up and I'm slammed with tickets of drinks to make for the floor. People are reservations are late, so they're coming to the bar in droves looking for seats, trying to get a drink before they get to the table. 3-4 people deep. It's crazy. And this guy manages to get himself a seat at the bar and is just take your time to order, but don't take my attention in taking your time. Don't stop. Don't stop me when you need time, because you don't need me. You knew exactly what you were doing when you came here. And I was in the well, so I was not serving him. My coworker Danny was serving him, and he's like asking questions that like he doesn't really want answers to. He just wants to show how much he knows. And I'm kind of seeing what's going on out of the periphery, out of my peripheral vision. I'm making all these drinks. I'm slammed, but I'm not too slammed to observe what the fuck this guy is doing. And I am just like looking at him and making faces and making eye contact with Danny to be like, fuck this guy. Fuck, I can't do anything about it right now, but I just want you to know, fuck this guy. He sucks. And he's talking about our wine list. And he's like, so what is all this? What is all this? Why do you have them in these categories? And like, and you know, I know what a Chablis is, but like nobody down here in the South Bay knows what a Chablis is. And it's like, sir, Chablis was the official wine of the 70s. Like I wasn't even alive then, and I know that. Like Chablis was that was like the fancy wine on Three's Company. Like everyone knows what a fucking Chablis is. And he keeps asking, like, you know, and you guys don't have red or white listed. How are people supposed to know which one's red and which one's right? You have like, this is, you know, tiny bubbles, and this one is adventurous. This one is light and fruity. Like, how are people supposed to know that this is a red wine or a white wine? And it's like, well, I'm sure that the fucking Chardonnay next to the description will let people know that's white. And I'm sure Pinot Noir, like that part's there, but just because the header didn't say red and the header didn't say white and the header didn't say sparkling wines, he was making a stink and just like, oh, well, you know, the descriptive categories that you have for each section don't really match the wines. I mean, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say, but you know, I know wine. I know wine. And it's like, what the fuck are you going to order? What are you going to order? And I'm like, and I just, and as soon as that popped into my head, I was like, this fucking guy is a sales rep. This guy is a motherfucking sales rep. And he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there wasting all of our time. And he's like, is there somebody like who does your wine buying? Who purchases? Who's your wine director? Who does all this? And my coworker's like, well, our general manager is also a sommelier. He's the one that puts the wine list together. So we have, you know, 50,000 fucking wines by the glass. They're all delicious, let me tell you. Again, and this is where we have a shared enemy. So our general manager, I will call out all the shitty, dumb, stupid, not thought through, dumbass moves he makes. And all the times he's just an asshole, I will call that out. But you know, on here, I am fair. And I tell you I'm fair, and I show you I'm fair, because motherfucker knows how to pick wine. He may not know how to put a playlist together, because the playlist that we have really just kind of say that he's that one gay friend in a group, and so everyone just assumes he can make a playlist. Like, that's our playlist. And if you get that, then you can probably assume what songs are on our playlist. But the wine, he knows what he's doing, and he picks some interesting wine. And I think we're just as an industry, yeah, wine lists could be a lot simpler because people just want a Merlot. They just want a Chianti. People just want that. But we're in the industry, but we're kind of pushing away from that right now, and it's a little annoying in some ways, but it's also cool to be able to explore wine with people. And you know, I never want to interact with people. So if I'm defending this, it's just like, shut up, sir. Like, just shut up. And he's like, so like, I mean, I would love to talk to him. Reminder, as you're hearing this story, especially if you're not in the industry, this is a Saturday night. This is a Saturday fucking night. And he is just going on and on and on about, you know, he'd love to speak to somebody and this and that. And of course, it drops. You know, I'm a liquor rep. I specialize in whiskey, but you know, I've done wine. I do wine, and yeah, I'm having a hard time reading this list, and I know what all these wines are. I know, like, you know, and what's this like Lebanese wine you have here? It's like, I thought you knew wine. How do you not know this wine? It's one of our best sellers, but nobody in the South Bay knows what this wine. But you know, okay, and it's like, so then he sends, and I'm my coworker, God bless him for having the patience, is being way more patient with this man than I would be, because he actually went back to the kitchen, because this place, again, as if you've heard me talk about, they are so guest first, it's to their own detriment. And so Danny went to the kitchen because, like, Chef might actually come out. If you want to talk to Chef, because she's the owner as well, and she has a say in this wine list as well as our GM does, like she actually may come out, because like that's how fucking on crack and drunk on Kool-Aid this restaurant group is. So Danny, understandably so, I wouldn't have done it because I like to tell people no. Goes back and talks to Chef, and Chef's like, not no, no fucking way. This guy wants to talk about, and we're not going to say this to this guy, but Danny just goes, okay, like, yeah. And he comes back and he's like, so sorry, it's restaurant week and Chef is slammed. We're very thankful to be busy. And we just, you could come back another time to talk to Chef about this. She'd love to talk to you about our wine program, but now's not the time. And he's like, okay, yeah, and I can't remember. I think he got the fucking Chablis at least, thank God. And then he just got like a dip and some pita. And it's like, all this all this for a $30 tab. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, what an asshole. Like, would you go into a restaurant in the height of the rush and apply for a job? No. Would you go into any industry and look for a job at like the busiest season and all that? No, you don't. You don't bother people when they're overwhelmed. You don't bother people when they're busy. And you definitely, as a salesman, you're going when it's the worst time, when nobody has time to speak. And you're so full of yourself and everything that you know that you don't get that now's a bad time. And he's there and he's just doing his thing and just still making commentary. Like he's already got his wine. He's already got his answer. But it's not enough. And so I had to go upstairs to grab something from the walk-in. And at that point, Chef had already gone to her office and walked by, and she's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, jackass at the bar talking about our wine list. And she goes, what's that guy's problem? And I was surprised because I've never heard her speak bad about a guest, because she thought he was just a guest at this point still. And I was like, okay, Chef, like let's talk some shit. And I was like, it'd be one thing if he actually was new at this, if he was green and newer to being a sales rep and didn't know that coming in at the rush is the worst time to try and make a sale, to try and make a connection. And she's like, whoa, wait, what? He's a rep? I'm like, yeah, he's a rep. And he's an asshole. But like if he were new and just made an honest mistake and just naive about it, I would have taken his card and I would have been like, hey, listen, buddy. I would have interrupted Danny. I would have interrupted all this stuff. And he's like, hey, listen, I wanna give you some advice, because I know you mean well. And I would have helped him. But the fact that he seems to be knowing what he's doing and he's so fucking sure of himself, and he doesn't know better than to do this. And Chef, I mean, her mind was blown. She's like, she didn't say fuck that guy, but I could see it in her eyes. And she's like, I've blacklisted people for less from restaurants for doing shit like that, for coming in and being scummy and da-da-da. I was like, damn, Chef, I didn't know you had it in you. So I'm like, well, Chef, like, I will get his card if you want. And this evil smile. Again, when you have a common enemy, the lengths you will go with unity. So I say, Chef, do you want me to get his card? And she's like, get me the card and I will blacklist him from selling to not just this restaurant, but the entire company. And I was just like, again, I know this sounds kind of shitty, but this guy has to learn, because he clearly has not learned this lesson in however long he's been doing this. And he's got to learn it at some point, and better a smaller group, a smaller successful restaurant group, than to learn it later and have it really fuck up his career. And you can get blacklisted temporarily and unblacklist yourself when you humble yourself, but like you got to get there first. So he needs to learn this lesson, and I don't feel so bad, because like it's not just kind of getting even for what he did to us and the way he was treating us, and it's not just about that and getting even and being spiteful, but it's to save another bartender, another manager, another chef at any other restaurant in the South Bay or anywhere in LA from having to put up with this bullshit. So lessons got to be learned. And again, I'm not looking out for you. I'm looking out for myself. I'm looking out for my coworkers, and I'm looking out for my coworkers in the industry all the time. I don't care if we work in the same restaurant. I got your back. So I'm like, Chef, we're on it. I go downstairs and I tell all the bartenders, I said, listen, this is our mission. Before he leaves, you need to get this man's card. you need to get this man's card and we need to give it to Chef. I explained exactly the conversation that I had with Chef, and like on it. I told the manager what we're doing. Everyone was on board. It was just so thrilling to be all on the same page together. And, it's wrapping up. And this guy is really proud of himself. This guy is so proud of himself. He thinks he's made a really great impression. He's, finishing up his little dip in his pita. He's finishing up his Chablis. And Danny goes back up to him. He's like, hey, listen, I'd love to get your card because, I really like what you had to say about, our wine. And I know that our beverage director, our manager, would love to talk to you. So if you have a card, like, please just leave it with us. And I'll make sure he gets it and I'll make sure he reaches out to you. And the guy's like, oh, I don't have a card on me. And I'm like, you fucking idiot. You do that entire speech about what a pro you are, how long you've been doing this, how knowledgeable you are, all in like a sales pitch in order to get a meeting to sell to us, and you don't have a card? And Danny's like, well, here, write your stuff down on a paper and we'll get it to you. He's like, I mean, yeah, I can do that. He goes, just my cards are in my car. And Danny's like, sir, I'll watch your stuff. Danny's doubling down. I'll watch your stuff. Go get your card. We'll be here. The man is excited because he really thinks he's seeing dollar signs. He is seeing dollar fucking signs. He goes out to wherever he's parked. He comes back like 5-ish minutes later, gives his card, pays his bill. This is where I kind of feel bad because he left us a really nice tip. Not really nice, but a good tip. A good tip that I wasn't expecting because he was such an asshole. And we give the card over to Chef, and she's like, yep, not just one restaurant, but 8 restaurants this man will not sell to. And I just got to say, for everything that went wrong this night that we haven't spoken about yet, I'm glad that happened. I am so glad that it happened. And even though the rest of this weekend was a shit show, just even telling you this story right now just makes me smile. And you might be thinking, that's not nice. It's not nice, but it's sincere. Let's put a bookmark in this and take a little break, all right? We'll see you in just a little bit. See, what am I talking like I'm on TV? See you. This isn't live. Anyways, I'll be right back. Love you guys. Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com. All right, back to the show. All right, and welcome back. I hope you use that break to pause this and leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this podcast to, or heading over to tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com, because gratuity is not included, but tips are appreciated. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshift.com. Anyways, back to the show. You just heard that little commercial, which I would really love for you to hear again, because that tip jar has been lonely these past few weeks. It could use some company. But before we get back into the shit show that is the place that I work, I wanted to do some shout outs. It's been a while, and we have some really cool stuff coming up. We just spoke to Richard Skipper last week about just life and love and working in hospitality and shows he's got coming up, and his ongoing Richard Skipper Celebrates and how that's kind of transformed into an onstage show, a live podcast, if you will. And he's going to be out in my neck of the woods ish in Palm Springs on February 11th at 7 p.m. at Revolution Stage Company. And you can go to revolutionarystagecompany.com. You could go to richardskipper.com and find your tickets if you're in the area. They will be linked in the comments below. And yeah, join me there. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm going out to Palm Springs, and I'm actually kind of mixing this trip to go see Richard, which it's his 65th birthday. So it is not just a show, it is a celebration. I'm turning this trip into a working trip. So I'm going to be going to Palm Springs for 3 days and dipping my toes into the world of remote working and working on my clients virtually from a hotel in Palm Springs with maybe a few dips in the hot tub in between, reconciling accounts, and just really having an opportunity to manifest that and play with it and live this life out loud. And I'm so excited to be kind of testing the waters and being able to see a friend who I love and adore and can't wait to see his show. So I will be there in Palm Springs. And you can sit with me. We can have drinks before the show. We can have drinks after the show. We can have drinks on Tuesday. We can have drinks on Monday. Whenever you're in Palm Springs, let's grab a drink. But most importantly, get your tickets to Richard Skipper Celebrates. Now, he's going to be joined on stage by his musical director, Michael Cullum, and the show is, of course, directed by the award-winning actor, singer, director, New York institution that is James Beeman. And I can tell you for sure, I have seen Richard perform on many occasions, and I've never left one of his shows without an ear-to-ear smile. He is a historian. He is charming. If he just gets up there and reads the phone book, well, I guess we'd have to find a phone book for him to read. But if he reads or sings his phone book, you will understand just how charming he is, and you will have a great time. So, February 11th at 7 p.m. at the Revolution Stage Company, go see Richard Skipper. In other news, coming out not this Friday, next Friday, February 13th, my dear friend and former guest of the show, former coworker, Preston Scott Straus, is releasing a new single called Car Rides. And it is just in time for Valentine's Day. It is a brand new love song. And it's a song that's, very near and dear to his heart. It's a memory he has of when he was 18 years old and he drove someone that he was in love with to New York City to drop them off so they could start school. He was, just first loves, right? And the song is about, the goodbyes, the tears, the heartbreak. And it's a song it's a memory that was very painful for him for many years and very dear to his heart. And he's finally been able to put it in a song to share the love, the memory, the bittersweetness that is first love. So wherever you're listening to music, wherever you stream, wherever you purchase music, look up Preston Scott Straus and listen to his music. Find him on Spotify. Listen. Don't wait till February 13th. Listen to his. It's absolutely beautiful. He's a phenomenal human being. And we're going to have him back on the show pretty soon to not just talk about the single, but what he's been up to, catch him up on, he's still in it. He's still surviving the job to make this dream happen. So we're going to have him back soon and we can't wait. But for now, just go listen to his music. Like, comment, subscribe, share with everyone. Sing people's praises because he's definitely worth having his praises sung about. And last but not least, a nice little shout out to my dear friend and also former guest of the show who happened to work at the infamous restaurant where Nicole Brown Simpson dined at right before her untimely murder. He was very close with her and shared a lot of insights from that trial, from all of that on his episode, from his time working as a maitre d' here in LA before moving to New York. So this is Dancing Between Raindrops, his newest book, Happily Ever After. It's the final installment in his semi-autobiographical series. I have that book, not this book. I have the original one. I have his Titanic talk. I have all of his books, and he is just such a mesmerizing person, and he's got some juicy stories to tell from life as a gay man in New York in the 80s and 90s and all the fun stuff that happened before it could get caught on social media. So make sure to not just purchase this book when it's out, but also go see him in New York. He's going to have a happy hour on Monday, February 9th from 5 to 7 at Clay Restaurant. That is in Morningside Park, near where I used to live, on 553 Manhattan Avenue, right near Morningside Park. And then on Tuesday, February 10th at Verdello Restaurant on 994 Columbus Avenue in New York City. Come talk about the book, get a little signed copy of it, and just see Nelson, nelsonaspen.com. All right. That's all I got to say for shout outs. Let's get back to talking shit. Sorry. I had to collect myself to tell this part of the story. So as I mentioned, it's Dine LA, and of course, this restaurant did everything they could to not give us the information we needed about Dine LA. Dine LA, if you're in New York, well, if you're in LA, you know what it is. If you're in New York, it's Restaurant Week. This is the slowest time of year for restaurants, no matter where you are. The holidays just ended. People are doing dry January. They're saving up for Valentine's Day. So what they do is they offer a prefix menu. You come in, you get a little tasting of the menu, smaller portions, but a little more quantity overall, for a decent price. And it puts butts in the seats. It's not just about selling tickets at full price. It's just about getting butts in the seat regardless, right? Because we want people to be talking about this place. And in New York, it is huge. There are 2 restaurant weeks. I believe there's one in the summer too, because in August it gets really slow. And it's nonsense. It's busy. It's crazy. It's sometimes a lower price point than if you were selling things at full price, but again, it's still butts in the seats, and people come and they love Restaurant Week, and they're monsters about it. They are absolute vile, because it's just like they're owed this. They've been waiting all year for Restaurant Week, and they're owed this. And they're just a little more difficult, and especially because most of the times with Restaurant Week, it is a prefix menu and there are no substitutions. And because they're entitled, they're looking for every which way around it. And I like to double down there because, as I said earlier, I love telling people no. Unless you have an allergy, then I'll fucking move heaven and earth, because fuck this place. They can make you something for your allergy. And if you're a vegetarian, you should be offering something for everyone to come in. So yeah, fuck that shit. But if you're just a little bitch, nah, you get what's on the menu. Sorry. I wish I could do something about it. And what I've noticed in LA is, because actually I've been here for 2 years and I've never worked at a place that's done it. And I'm kind of upset that now I do, because I just knew what it was going to be. And again, with everything, you heard about what happened at New Year's. You've heard about what happened. This place loves making PDFs. They love sending emails about talking about all the fun stuff we're going to do without actually conveying any necessary information. It's just like, look at all these cool things, and here's the history behind this plate, and here's the da 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 da, and blah 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 blah, and here's the people we want to serve. And it's like, cool, but what are we going to serve them? So literally, not just myself, every waiter, every bartender showed up and was like, oh, it's Dine LA? That's happening now? Okay. What's the menu? What are we serving? Because we find out, for New Year's, we found out what the prefix was minutes before service started. Now, y'all heard me say this many times, and I don't like the whole New York versus LA. I don't know who said this recently on a podcast I was listening to, but it's kind of boring to that whole oh, which one's better. It's I don't care about that. It's really stupid, right? Live where you want, love where you want. There are amazing things about LA. There are shitty things about LA. There are amazing things about New York. There are shitty things about New York. But with all that being said, again, New York just gets this industry so much better. They get hospitality. It is just part of their life. I have never walked into a service with so little information, knowing something was around the corner. No, Restaurant Week, you are talking about that. As if you are studying for a life-saving procedure. Here's what we knew. This is our plan of attack. As if you're, going on a rescue mission to rescue people from a natural disaster. We are planning this. We are making sure that we get in there, we get out, boom, boom, boom. That's how serious they take it. And that's how serious they apply themselves to it in New York and in LA and many areas. It's just, in this industry, it's do you guys just think the restaurant would restaurant itself? Why don't we know what's going on? Why didn't we know it's Restaurant Week? Why haven't you told us how things are to be rung in? Because it's you don't need to know how computer systems work. There's just a lot of stuff. We don't know what we're serving. We don't know how much. We don't know what questions, that guests are going to ask. And that's one thing. You can learn on the fly. I'll improvise. I'll make shit up. And I've also been doing this long enough that I actually don't need to know. It just would be nice if you gave me a heads up, right? We'll all make it work, because that's what half this industry is. Same thing with performing. You just make it work. You put as much as you can in rehearsal, but at the end of the day, the show's got to go on and you got to sell it. So we do it, and we're fine. But the one thing that I can't forgive. Well, not can't forgive, but because it's really not that important to my life, except for when I'm on the clock and within the walls of that restaurant, is knowing that this was coming up, knowing that we'd have more reservations than a restaurant normally would, especially at this time of year. And with the weeks before, the days before, not making a plan of attack so that way we have enough of wine. If we're pushing a wine, we should probably have it in stock. If, making sure we have enough. We ran out of focaccia on day one. Focaccia. People are going to order it, and we ran out of it. There were not enough blends because remember, our bar is all blends. There was not enough juice. There was not enough garnish. I walked in on Saturday to start the dinner shift, and again, well, this is how it is every day with this place. But the other half of the bar wasn't set up. If I don't open that bar, it is not set up for service, and I don't know what people do for 9 hours before I get there. I don't know what people do for 9 hours before I get there. But I was like, oh, cool. So we're not set up. And we're not set up, and you knew it was restaurant week. And so we have the manager cutting garnish, and we have this person doing that, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, what are we doing here, folks? What are we actually doing? And we're just all kind of like burned out. We're just all just like, this is so not worth it. And this is why there are like 4 bartenders out of 6 that will be leaving within the next month. And that's not my concern. That's not any of the 4 bartenders concerned. I feel bad for the 2 that are staying because they're going to get a lot of shit thrown at them. But that's the restaurant. We've been begging for months to hire more people. We've been begging to give us the supplies we need to get through service. We've been begging for just to do your goddamn job so we could do our jobs easier. And here we are, too late. People are already mostly out the door. And here we are at restaurant week. And we're not prepared for the avalanche of people that's going to be coming through the door. And what can you do? You can just laugh, right? Like that's all you can do. It's too late. Like buckle up and just take it. Like, and so we just get ready for service. And while service is happening, which is just really just, always fun. Now, my boy Danny, he's part of the A team. He's my work boyfriend. Tyler's my work husband. Don't get it twisted. I don't want any fights between them. But Danny, he's like a few steps behind me as burned out, but he's more burned out in other areas than I am. And it's great because we balance each other out and we uplift each other. We hold each other up. But Danny has a lot of responsibilities. And so they were not preparing for this restaurant week to happen. And by, giving Danny what he needed or giving him heads up about like the quantities that were needed. So all of a sudden in the middle of this shift where Danny is not doing prep work, he is a bartender. This avalanche of stuff falls in his lap of things that could have been taken care of had they given him what he needed and the product he needed to get what he needed, all that beforehand. And I just see it in his face. He's like, man, fuck this place. I'm like, you don't got to tell me. You don't got to tell me. Fuck this place. And manager's like, all right, we don't have time to do all this today. We'll just get through what we need to get through. But Danny, can you come in early tomorrow? Can you come in early and catch us up? And Danny's like, no problem. No problem. I got you. I'll come in early, even though I'm closing. I'll come in early and do these things that I could have done earlier in the week had you given me a heads up that we were doing Dine LA and had you given me the product that I've been begging you for months to have so that way I could do these things. Yeah, no, don't worry. I'll come in early on a Sunday before I close to get you caught up. And I knew good and God, I saw in his face. And as soon as the managers leave, he's like, I'm not coming in tomorrow. I'm like, I know you're not coming in tomorrow. He's like, I'm just sick of this. He's studying to do other pursuits out of this industry, and he is so close. Like he is literally 2 months away from not having to work in this industry ever again. He'll be done with his studies, and it'll be in a career path that will put him straight to work. So he's set, and he's really like, so he really owes this place nothing, and especially with the way that they treat him, like a little less than nothing. And and he looks at me and he goes, I'm sorry, because you're working with me tomorrow and I'm not going to close. I'm calling out. So you're going to get fucked over. I'm like, I'm not going to close. I knew it's like, I'm not going to close. Fuck them. They can figure it out. They can figure it out. He's like, I'm just sorry for whatever happens tomorrow. And I said, listen, I've worked at restaurants where they try and make you think like, if you call out, you're not screwing over the restaurant, you're screwing over your coworker. Because this place burned bridges, and so people would just quit. And like, if you just quit on the spot, like you're not really sticking it to us. You're making life more difficult for your coworkers, because they try to make it like their fault, and they try to pit us against each other. And it's like, so I've seen enough of this to where I just know, like, yeah, my job's gonna be shitty tomorrow. I'm gonna have it on me tomorrow. But you got to do what you got to do, because I believe in you and what you're doing. I know you're not just a slacker like the other people I work with, except for Tyler and Brandy. You're not a slacker. You're not getting drunk on the job. You're not doing you're doing more than what you need to get done. So my shit's going to suck tomorrow. 100%. But that's not you. I'm mad at the restaurant for putting you in this position. And I would rather you take the day off tomorrow, because you have tests to take. You have a career literally weeks away from being your reality. That's your priority. You do what you need to do. No, I may say fuck Danny in my head, but know that I love you, and you got to do what you got to do. And so then it became, and Danny's the one who was, helped me with that wine rep person, whiskey rep, whatever the fuck he was. So then Danny's doing his thing, and we're just kind of like looking at each other and laughing, and they keep coming up like, oh, tomorrow when you come in, will you also add this to your list of things to do? And Danny's like, I got you. All right, I'll juice, I'll blend, I'll do this, I'll cut, I'll chop, boom. And it's just like, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We'll see you early, yada, yada, yada. And then come back moments later. And of course, we just look at each other like these fucking assholes. And it's like, oh, Danny, one more thing. Like, when you come in tomorrow, will you also do this? I'll juice, I'll chop, I'll blend, I'll bleep, I'll bop, boom, I got you. And the list just kept getting longer of all the things Danny was going to have to do. And it's just this smile on his face of just like, fuck this place. And I couldn't have been more proud of him. Again, it's gonna be a shitty day for me. I'm like, when are you calling out? He said, I'm sending a text at 10. So the next morning, I'm having my coffee, and it's getting close to 10. And I send a text. I'm like, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for my text. And 10:05, I get a text from the manager on duty, who's very lovely, and I love her. I love her. It's not her fault. She's new. She's actually like kind of a manager. She's not really a manager. She's like an interim manager. She's a hostess that's like moving up, and she wants to make this her career. And so this is a really good restaurant to have on your resume if you want it to be a career move. And they have a management training program, which is just like cool, which is interesting that they have a manager training program that is, looked at favorably on a resume. And yet I work with the managers that they've trained. But she's someone that I'm like, you're doing this not because you've gotten drunk on the Kool-Aid. You're doing this because you're playing chess. So you do you, baby girl. So she texts me, and she's like, just so you know, our bartender called out tonight, so we're going to need you to close so you can come in a little later. And I said, just so you know, I'm not going to close. I have had this schedule for 2 weeks, and I schedule myself within an inch of my life, especially now. It's tax season. I'm a bookkeeper. I have a brand new client early in the morning that I need to be sharp for. I cannot close. I get a response almost immediately. Okay, love, no worries. Cool. Now I'm in at 4:00, and the entire day goes, and there's no update in our 7 shifts of somebody coming in to close. There's no communication or follow-up of, hey, Sean, we really need you to close. I understand this isn't convenient. No communication. So I already know I'm going to get screwed over, but I'm going to make them come to me. And so I show up to work, and I say, hey, girl, what's happening? Who's coming in to close? Knowing good and goddamn well nobody's coming in. The GM, it's his day off, but I don't care. It's your restaurant, not mine. And she just kind of like has an awkward smile, like, oh, is no one coming in to close? And she's just like, well, like, baby girl, it's not you. Don't you even worry. It's not, you shouldn't be making this decision. You should have handed this off to the general manager, even though it's his day off, and he should have taken care of this. He should have reached out. And so then I get pissed, not at her. And I say, listen, I hate this place. You know I hate this fucking place, but I don't hate you. I love you. And you're doing a good job. And I know you're doing the best you can with the resources available to you. And so I began working my shift. Now, the other thing that happened was, so Danny was supposed to close. So I ended up absorbing that, knowing that I'm going to have to stay later and be more sore because it's just a lot of fucking work. And then that's going to affect my next day. And my next day is something that is working towards getting me out of this industry. So I'm pissed. I'm just pissed. And I'm like Irish pissed. I'm quiet. I'm Irish Scorpio pissed. I'm Irish Scorpio, really not angry, flying off the handle Latin mother, that really angry, quiet, grounded Latin mother. All my genetics and astrology, and I'm just pissed. I'm calm and I'm grounded, and I'm like, fuck this place. But it's not just me getting fucked over. My work husband Tyler, he opened in the morning because he had to train someone. So he gets there at 7:00 to set up for brunch, work the entire brunch shift, and because he's the only other person that does juicing or blends, he was there until almost 9:00 in the evening, because that's how much work they would have left for Danny. Now, imagine this. How would Danny get that much work done while still coming in to do a full bartending shift? Like, do you see the disconnect that is this place? I just can't. So it's like Tyler got screwed over. I got screwed over. And it's not like this is a restaurant. I know it's like, oh, well, it's your job. And sometimes that happens. Like, yeah, no, it always happens in this industry. And it's a job, not a career. And we're not saving lives. And we're not getting taken care of here. We don't have an insurance fund. We don't have a retirement plan. We don't got shit from this restaurant. We barely get fed at a restaurant, which you've heard me talk about that. And you want us to come in and save your ass time and time and time and time again. And then you wonder why people are leaving. You wonder why people are unhappy there. Yet you're not willing to do anything to actually change it. Holy fucking shit. I cannot wait to not be here. And I'm telling everyone that will listen. All my coworkers are like, this place fucking sucks. You know that, right? And I'm making it happen. We're making it work. Tyler's making it work. And it's not really for the restaurant. It's for each other, because we have each other's backs. Now, this whole time, one of the assistant managers who was closing, who's usually like a little fly, he's always around me, like really wants, be buddy. And I've learned to love him. Not yesterday. He didn't come up to me once because he knew. It's like, when your dog does something bad and they know they did something bad and they just kind of like avoid eye contact and they won't come up to you because they know they did. It was like that. So the entire shift, he won't make eye contact with me. He won't speak to me because he knows I'm pissed. He knows I am fuming and fuck this place. Fuck this place. Until we get to the end of the night. And I'm like, so who's closing? And he's like, oh, well, I was like, I know good and goddamn well who's closing. I know good and goddamn well who's closing. And so he tries to like shoot the shit. He tries to shoot the shit with me. And one of the things was actually funny because he did bring up the wine rep and he's like, he actually knows the chef. Like not really knows the chef, but like knows a chef, follows them on Instagram. And he had posted that he was at our restaurant. He had tagged our restaurant and tagged the chef. Wonderful food, wonderful this. And I'm like, well, if he knows the chef and knows that why the fuck was he wasting our time about the wine menu? Why not just fucking DM the chef? And I was like, interesting. And I was like, so does that mean he's not going to get blacklisted? Because I didn't care about what anyone had to share. But then when it came up to this asshole, I was like, so he's not going to get blacklisted? I want to know. I can put my anger aside because I want to follow this story through. And he's like, oh no, he's still getting blacklisted. I was like, okay, good. Thank you. So he goes back, he does his thing. I'm angrily polishing glasses and putting it away. I'm angrily refilling things that like, I kept saying like, I'm not refilling anything. I'm going to leave this place a mess, but I can't actually do that. Like my spitefulness wanted to just leave the place a fucking shit show, not refill any juices or whatever, and just continue the abuse. But I couldn't, because that's just not who I am, and I can't work like that. So I'm angrily and spitefully doing a great job. And then waitress comes up and she's like, "Did you hear about that wine rep dude?" And I was like, "Yeah, Jared already told me." And I start telling her what he told me, and she's like, "No, he went next door to our sister restaurant and got drunk, like so drunk he had to leave his car here. So when I was coming into work, he was coming to get his car." And I was like, "What a fucking this just gets better." And I'm so angry, and I hate working here, and I hate that I'm trapped, and it's, having a negative impact on my life outside of here because I have this client that I got to be prepared for, but now I'm going to be exhausted for. But like this shit, this story just it keeps getting better and better. Like what a douchebag this is, and I feel less guilty about getting him blacklisted at this restaurant group. And so we're going, and then the manager next door, who they're never busy because he's always over here, and he's just at my bar, and I'm just like, and I'm angry. I'm like, "Jimmy, not now. Like, just fucking leave me alone." He's like, "You hear about that wine rep guy?" And I was like, "Yes, I heard about the wine rep guy. Like, he did this, he did that, he did boom." And he's like, "No, it's not just that he left his car here. He went home with one of my bartenders last night." Da da da, and then tells me which bartender, and I was like, "That tracks because she's tragic." And it was just this awful experience, this amazing experience about this guy who just, I mean, just it keeps getting better in his douchiness and his man bunness, and the story keeps unfolding, and it almost made me forget about how much I hated working there. But then I still had to close. And my manager was coming up, and he's like, trying to shoot the shit with me more, and still not addressing what happened and how it happened. And I said, and he's talking, he's like, "Oh, we have a new manager joining the team, and he's going to be trailing here before he goes to the restaurant he's going to be working at. He's going to be with us for 2 months." And I just stopped him and I said, "Jared, I don't care. I don't care if he's here for 2 months because I'm only probably know him for like 2 weeks." And his face just goes white. And I just ripped the Band-Aid, and I let him have it about how everything went down. And I let him know, I hate this place. I hate working here. I said, "You guys knew you were going to screw me over. You knew you were going to screw me over, and you did not address it once." The GM did not reach out to me. He's like, "Well, it's his day off, so it wasn't really his call." And I was like, "Yeah, but he knows what's going on because when the bartender that called out, he texted that GM, and that GM texted him because I have the screenshot saying, 'Don't worry, get better, Sean will close.' But that GM never reached out to me directly to see if I was available to close. He's like, 'Well, on the schedule, technically, it's kind of like you could be closing because of the thing.' I was like, 'No, I wouldn't be closing because I've been here for 7 months and I've had this schedule, and I am always out by 8:30 or 9 o'clock, which is just the schedule. And that's how we do things. And if you need to change things, you need to let us know because this is, I'm not even making enough money here with a full-time schedule to make it worth my while, let alone to prioritize you guys versus the things that I have going on outside of this restaurant. So I need you to know I hate this place. I hate this place. And don't be surprised when in 2 months, there's nobody here and you're training all new bartenders. You did wrong." And I said, and the worst part about it wasn't just the lack of communication, but you couldn't even say, "Hey, let me buy you some food. Hey, here's a little gift card for the restaurant for you to use whenever you have just a little thing. Here's $50 on a gift card." Some small thing. I said, "Don't give it to me. Don't offer me food right now. Don't give me a gift card right now because I don't want your money. I don't want your food because you didn't think about it." I said, "But just know, for the next person that comes in to take my place, you know how to treat them." Now, I can be a little more honest with him because I still kind of need this job and he's low man on the totem pole. But like I said, I've learned to start loving him when I started learning that he was malleable, that I could jokingly tease him about everything he's doing wrong. And because he thinks it's a joke, it's no harm, no foul. But then he also kind of is like, "Oh, I think Sean might be right about that." And he does things right. So I've kind of learned a way to work with him and kind of guide him in a way to be a better manager, not for myself, but for the next people he comes in contact with. And this was a lesson where I could be like, I don't have the freedom right now to tell the GM where to stick it. I will. And I have had very direct conversations with this GM, and he knows where I stand. But I can have this conversation with you because I need to release the vent. I need to release some pressure And I need you to be better at your job. I need you to know that this place ain't shit and that there are many more ways to do this than what they're teaching you here. And that's where we left it. And that's where I'm going to leave you. And hopefully I have an update. Well, I will have more updates for you. And I'm so excited. And sorry it was so heavy. I really am feeling so hopeful about, what's coming up next around the corner. And sometimes it's just got to get shittier before it gets sunnier. And that's where we're at. It just always feels a little darker before the light comes back in. And this place sucks, but it's only temporary. But the things that I have coming up around the corner are phenomenal. And I'm so grateful. When I talk about giving a shout out to somebody who's made a tough shift easier for you, I am so grateful to you, to everyone who tunes into this podcast, this little podcast that could. My humble numbers every week. It may not be big streaming numbers, but they're consistent numbers. And you have offered me some sort of free therapy, some sort of lifeline, some way of thinking that I'm making an impact and sharing my stories. And you help keep me going. You may not realize it, but you help keep me going. You help make this all worth it. And so I just want to thank you for all the support you give just by showing up, and all the support you give by sliding into my DMs with the funny things you experience at a restaurant, making commentary, Mr. Matty Pagel, on all the sass of your reactions to what we talk about on here. All those things that you guys give to me in roundabout ways that keep the inspiration in me, that keep that light inside of me lit. Is that the word I'm thinking of? Oh my God, I'm too much in my head right now. Thank you for tuning to the show. I can't wait for our next episode, for our next guest. And just remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.